And away we go. Oh boy, where do I begin? Now, before getting into the stuff that's been sent in the podcast group chat, a very important announcement regarding a project that I'm working on with Shadow Miner and Eric is part of it as well at some point, coming in back and forth. So, in regards to the relaunch Byte, which I've been going on about for a very long time, or at least for the last 5 years, I'm still thinking and coming up with ideas and whatnot. That is still being worked on. That's not the announcement. The important announcement comes down to another project, which fits in with the long-term roadmap of the Sagamatic Universe. Brought to you by yours truly, Jacob Shadowminer. So, what is this project that is so important to address in such a podcast episode? Well, this was an idea that was originally, no, not original. This is an idea that was originally came up with as a way to facilitate long-term stability, sustainability, and growth for Relaunch Byte. Originally, from the very beginning, me and Shadowminer, for the most part, along with Eric, who got in the process, we've always wanted to bring back Byte, as it's more than just a platform that me and Shadowminer, as well as Eric, have met on. It's also a platform where a strong community was built upon, and so many memories were made with the greatest people I couldn't have thought of be any better than they are right now. I miss those days. However, a couple of mishaps and unfortunate accidents, if you can call it an accident at all, had been made, and the original Byte app that a lot of people come to know by under the helms of Dom Hoffman is no longer in existence. The spirit of the community still exists, just the infrastructure of the original app. So anyway, in regards to the announcement, this other project that serves as some kind of safety nets and yes, as a safety nets and support for the relaunch Byte. The testing working title name for it was Bits, Project Bits. Uh, quite recently, a few days ago, Shadowminer and I had a talk on Discord to discuss the new name change, which will be the official name of this other project that will further complement and support relaunch Byte in the future. That name is called Multivision. What is Multivision? Well, from the words of Shadowmine himself, he describes it as a long-form content platform for independent filmmakers, directors, producers, and other creators that might exist in the such realm. And when me and Shadow might have had that talk about multivision, I love that idea, and I had also brainstormed a few ideas for him, like out of requested by him, Shadow Miner, and I thought, why not? Along other than showing short movies, films, and other independent projects by independent creators and filmmakers, why not also allow the option for creators and filmmakers and directors to also post content for themselves to showcase the behind the scenes and other workings of how their project came to be and the process of making what they're making. And I like that. I'm very proud of that idea, but it won't be the last of it. So, time frame for Multivision. Shadowminer did say that July, August, roughly in that area, is it's not a public launch, like everyone's going to use it, everyone's going to go on there and all at once. I'd assume this is going to be kind of a beta test. So there's going to be some people just testing it out to get some feedback on how things work. And then once all of the bugs and other issues have been dealt with and resolved, then give it a few more months, maybe another year or two, just trying to build a strong base, commuter base, and just reworking with the bug fixes and add some more features that would further support filmmakers and directors. Eventually, it would come to the point discussing of launching multivision to the whole world. That is where we are. This is where we are at right now with Sagamatic, the long-term roadmap for the Sagamatic Universe. It's all coming down swimmingly. Of course, it's still a long way to go, not just with multivision, also with Byte, which is something I've been boasting on about for a very long time, 5 years to be exact. Well, nearly 5 years. I remember it quite well because, well, yeah, who knows? That's a very good question. Nonetheless, it's looking good. Very, very good. So far, so good. That's all there is to say in regards to the project. Well, it's a project. And another project. I know there's a lot of projects. It is only the beginning of something much larger. And me, and along with Shadowminer and everyone else at Sagamatic Studios, are so excited for it. I cannot wait to see where this goes. It's all looking very, very exciting. And yeah, that's it. I know it's well, 7 minutes. I may have to cut this down a bit. So that's the announcement-ish before getting into the actual episode. So with that being said, let's see what me, Eric, or Risk have sent in our podcast group chat since the last time we recorded a podcast episode. So firstly, I sent a screenshot of a Facebook post by the account 50 Shades of Crime. Very clever. Very funny. Now, there are two pictures beneath the text of that post, showing what seems to be a protester wearing an orange high-vest jacket. Just by that picture alone and that description, I think there's going to be some people that will be kind of familiar where this is going. So, the caption, the context of the post in question reads, "Friends request pink-haired, just stop oil activist Phoebe Plummer is released early from prison because she is struggling to adjust to life inside. Phoebe, who was sentenced to 2 years in prison for throwing soup over a £90 million Van Gogh painting, is reportedly unable to eat most of the food because it isn't organic. Her friend said Phoebes grew up in a £4 million Chelsea home. Her parents paid £45,000 a year for her to go to a private school. She doesn't belong here. She laminated." You know what? That's a good point. I can't imagine how anyone that went to private school could ever survive in such conditions. Then again, not that I'm being too hard on activists and just protesting in general, if you don't know what you're getting yourself into, or at least more importantly, if you violate laws, whatever that law might be, then of course, you will pay the price. Again, that's not to say you shouldn't protest, you just got to be cautious and careful of how you're protesting, so you don't give the any authorities any ideas about how to go ahead with, well, arresting you, or to even make the officers' jobs any easier to make it easy grounds to have you arrested for, well, whatever you're protesting. That's at least that's my perspective on just protesting in general. Nothing against it. It's just you gotta. There are people in this world that they're just gonna stop you from speaking out what you want to say. Not always, and not always at high intensity. We're not going to know how sensitive particular information is going to be until particular groups of people or levels of authority comes into grips with it, shut everything down, and try to test you for whatever crimes you're being accused of. It doesn't matter if you actually done it. If that's what people believe you have done, then they'll just go off those kind of grounds for putting you in the big house, and possibly you would have to pay a hefty fine. So, back to Phoebe Plummer, the Just Stop Oil activist. I'm going to be honest, and I know there's going to be a handful of people would say the same thing. Now, firstly, it's no surprise. Not too certain if this has happened already. Given that Phoebe's parents would have more than enough money to pay for Phoebe's private school tuition, £45,000 a year, tells me that Phoebe's family are more than just comfortable financially. They are well off. They're very wealthy. And if Phoebe's parents really want to get her daughter out of jail, of course they're going to use all the money they have in the world to get the best lawyers, set up a court trial to argue that what Phoebe has done is within the framework of protest-esque related laws. She can't survive in these harsh conditions. And then eventually, the outcome would likely be, okay, I had enough. She's free to go. Out she goes. Go enjoy life. Now, that's not happened yet. From experience, or at least from what I've seen from previous stories like this, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the outcome, which I believe seems to be likely to be the case. Until then, only time will tell if any more about this story or how Phoebe's being treated in prison is to be dealt with, made amendments, or trying to get her out of jail, however way she can, from support from her friends and family. So, only time shall tell what happens next. And also, Risk 11 has responded to that screenshot, saying she chose to be a spoiled brat. She can do the time. She might learn something. You know why? I can't argue with that. Not to say people should be treated harshly for their crimes, so long as their treatment for what the crimes have done reflects their actions of the crime in question. That's what I believe in, or at least something that I believe should happen for everyone that's getting punished. Whatever actions someone has done in violations of whatever laws in place should be reflected in the punishment towards said individual. Which doesn't seem to be much. Yes, I get it. Phoebe threw beans at a £90 million Van Gogh painting. Which, oh my gosh, you ruined a masterpiece! There's a glass pane between the painting and wherever the splattered was. I'd be surprised if museum curators did not have a risk assessment or a strategy in regards to such scenarios like that. It should have been a priority for these museum curators to have some kind of protection for these artworks that are worth tens of millions of pounds. Nonetheless, it could be worse. Honestly, it could be worse. That's just me. Alright, next I sent a video about a very funny interaction, which it wasn't that funny. I was like, how the fudge was that possible? Well, I'm just gonna play the audio in regards to that video for you right now.
Sir, this is an elevator. This is not a landline or phone. Well, who gives a fuck? You just called an elevator trying to sell me something. Yeah, so it's an elevator in a building.
How was that possible? how can you call someone that's in a lift or an elevator, Americans call it? I have so many questions right now. Firstly, what is even as the number, or at least a number to type in on your phone or landline to even communicate with someone that's in a lift of any within any building? And secondly, the most baffling of them all, how on earth was the scammer was able to communicate with someone in a lift if the guy that was recording that video, who was in that lift, he was the first one to call for assistance in case I assume there was a reason for the guy that recorded that video to call for assistance, someone in a whatever building that the guy was in. But instead of getting through to support or staff members within that building that he was in, he got through to a supposed scammer selling some kind of product to him. Now, calling a lift is one thing, yet to have someone actually call for assistance for whatever reason, only for the scammer to then to pick up on the receiving end of that communication is a completely different level altogether. You're never going to see such scenarios like that in a very, very long time, if ever again. Probably not ever again. However, if another story or incident like that happens again, and in the next century, earliest, roughly, minimum century, would be the next time something like that happens again. A couple decades would be even more miraculous. That does not happen. No matter how hard to stage or script this kind of interaction between a scammer and a person within a lift calling for assistance, you don't see. It is not possible for such interactions like that to ever happen. It's just, I find it funny at first, but now I'm just seeing it's quite baffling. It really is. Goodness me. And yeah, that's pretty much what's been sent. All that has been sent in the podcast group chat since the last time I recorded a podcast episode. With that all being said, let's get right into the news. Watch Ariana Grande kick off her Eternal Sunshine tour with her first concert since 2019. On Saturday, June 6, 2026, Ariana Grande commenced her Eternal Sunshine tour at the Oakland Arena in Oakland, California, marking her first headlining concert tour in 7 years and drawing nearly 20,000 fans. Grande's professional focus shifted toward acting since her last major track, the 2019 Sweetener World Tour, which grossed $146 billion and drew 1.3 million tickets, sold according to Billboard Box Score. During the 23-song performance, Grande live debuted "Hate That I Made You Love Me" from her forthcoming album Petal, arriving July 31st, alongside career-spanning hits like "Thank You", "Next", and "Seven Rings". Visibly moved by the reception, Grande expressed gratitude to the crowd as secondary market ticket prices for floor seats reached over $1,000, reflecting unprecedented demand for the limited tour. The tour will continue across North America and London through September, spanning 10 cities, though Grande previously described the outing as potentially her last hurrah for the foreseeable future. So, when is Grande coming to Manchester? I'm joking. I'm not sure if... Yeah, last time I remember going on tour is, well, anyone from Manchester, it's a very momentous highlight. And you know, I remember that moment very well. May 22nd, 2017. I was watching YouTube on my iPad. I heard a bang. It wasn't too loud, but by the sound of that bang that I've heard at that time, it sounded quite big. And immediately I reacted like, oh no, as if something really bad happened. And then the next day, I heard news stories about 22 people that was seeing Ariana Grande on tour at the AO Arena. Back then was called the Manchester Arena. 22 people have lost their lives that day. And it still sticks with a lot of people to this day. Not just people from Manchester. A lot of people in the UK know this story very well. And whilst I'm not going to argue too much about Ariana Grande not coming to Manchester as part of a world tour, given how traumatic that event was for not just her, but everyone in Manchester that came to see her cousin in 2017. Yeah, I know there have been times, ever since the Manchester Arena bombing, that Ariana Grande did come back to visit people in Manchester, which was nice. And I know, I don't want to get into it. There's going to be some people that will point to the men behind the bombing in question, and hopefully they pay the price big time. I hope they do. However, what's what's been done has been said. It's done and dusted now. It's in the past. All we can do is go on about our lives to the best of our ability, no matter how hard things are right now. Now, back to the story about Ariana Grande kicking off her Eternal Sunshine tour. Of course, not surprising that ticket prices to watch Ariana Grande from the ground level of the stadium cost $1,000. Ah, yes, typical supply and demand doing its work. No, not saying this would ever happen. If there's going to be such a huge demand for people to come see an artist at big stadiums and arenas, why not leave a couple of dates empty to allow additional dates to be added, not just within the same city, also within the same stadium? That is something I would do if I ever became a music artist and I intend to go on tour. Now, I'm not saying create gaps between tour dates and performances just so I can visit the city. If there is a huge demand, like people in Oakland, California want to see Ariana Grande perform within an arena, I believe it makes so much sense to have additional dates, preferably night after night, like maybe 2, 3 nights in a row within the same stadium. So that way you can spread out the demand of with fans wanting to see their favorite artist. And I know, and again, I know there's going to be cost of renting the arena and the technical equipment. I know that there's a cost to that as well. Once all those costs are calculated and they are manageable logistically, then I don't see why not add additional dates to same city and same arenas back to back, night after night. So that way you can still allow people from within the same city to come watch their favorite artist. And I'm not saying this is the magic solution to reduce ticket prices. It will at least expand the number of fans that are wanting to see their favorite artist. Instead of secluding to one night in one city, possibly make room for other dates to be added in for the same city and same arena. In case if there's a high demand, ticket prices are too high, add another date and see if other people want to come see their favorite artist that day, or the day after that, or the day after that. Again, it's not the solution to reducing ticket prices. It will at least improve and expand the number of people wanting to see their favorite artists. And if it means a significant or at least small decrease of ticket prices, then so be it. Can't argue with that. These sea cucumbers seem to have zombie flesh that doesn't die when locked off. Doctoral student Sarah Jobson of Memorial University of Newfoundland discovered that several tissue from the soulless sea cucumber survives for more than 3 years in seawater, healing wounds and absorbing nutrients without regrowing into a complete organism. Unexpectedly, 2 feet detached during lab handling remained alive rather than decaying, as researchers typically expect. Jobson described the tissue as zombie-like because it exists in a grey zone, neither regenerating into a new animal nor dying. Experiments show the fragments survive by absorbing amino acids dissolved in seawater, despite lacking a mouth or digestive system. Marine biogeochemist Rachel Sipler of the Bigelow Laboratory for Ocean Science noted the tissue exhibits stunning growth and diversification of cells years after removal. Marine biologist Noel Wembrews of the University of Southampton told CNN that this tissue immortality is entirely novel, with findings published in Science Advances potentially aiding development of manageable cell lines for future research. Molecular biologist Alejandro Alvarado of the Stowers Institute for Medical Research cautions it may be too soon to call these tissues immortal, noting further study into DNA telomeres is required to confirm their long-term viability. I don't have strong opinions on this particular story. Yeah, it does sound interesting how organisms of any kind exist some kind of grey area. It's not dead, yet it's not regenerating new limbs after removal of a particular body part. Question is, what if the said organism is cut up into equal parts? Do they all just move independently, doing whatever? Or maybe all the others just, like, nah, no, I'm dead now. Bye-bye. I'm not moving anymore. It's complicated to tell the difference between what body part is alive and what body part is not. It's very strange, yet it is fascinating at the same time. Why Bitcoin is falling, AI, tech IPOs, quantum strategies, sale fears, all converge, NYDIG says. Okay, I'm trying to access one of the stories, yet it won't let me. So I'll have to read the very short sentence that I can see right now. Not one, but several overlapping headwinds are heading the crypto market at once, weighing on Bitcoin's prices. The firm head of research, Greg Cipollario, said that is all I know, or that is all that I'm allowed to know. I have seen that Bitcoin's value has gone down significantly. Now, does that mean that Bitcoin is becoming irrelevant? Is it dead? Is it a lost cause for anyone that has ever invested in the first place? No. And here's why. We all know the Epstein files. Very horrible the Epstein files are. I looked on jmail.world, the website, looking at that documents everything related to Epstein and all of his affiliates communicating back and forth with each other. I've seen a couple of emails written by Epstein on jmail.world where him and other affiliates that he knew in the past had talked about this new thing called crypto that he once said at the time. Now, that's not to say that Epstein had invested in crypto, or Bitcoin specifically. But again, he's not the only one invested in Bitcoin. There has been governments that have assets of Bitcoin somewhere in their reserves. The US famously used to have huge amounts of Bitcoin before they sold everything off for some reason. In my opinion, it sounds kind of stupid to do that. But hey, it's their money, they do what they want with it. And there's other wealthy individuals that are looking into investing in any cryptocurrency in general, not just Bitcoin. If you see so many entities and wealthy individuals investing into crypto of some sort, mainly Bitcoin, there's a reason they're doing that. And it's even come to points eventually that governments have discussed. Not that they're planning to. There have been talks about establishing legislation in regards to how people can possess digital assets, which is what crypto is classed under, how people will be taxed for having said digital assets, and to what extent or how much valuation of said digital assets would people be taxed on once the category of said digital asset is being identified, mainly crypto. It's going to come to a point where governments around the world will eventually start talking about cryptocurrencies and other digital finances that play a role in our day-to-day lives. We only have to wait and see where that will go. And yeah, that is it for the episode.